income tax to the government. So instead of paying tax separately to various departments, if you pay one tax to the government completely, so that is sufficient. So serving Krishna is like paying tax to the government. So you are paying that tax to the government directly. So there is no runa for you. So that you are not obligated by the service rendered by others, because at one shot you are paying the entire duty. So serving Krishna is directly paying that duty. Everything emanates from Krishna. So everybody is duty bound to Krishna. So that's how everybody is benefited. Everybody is benefited by performing this duty towards Krishna, right? So here Arjuna is performing his prescribed duty. Okay. So by performing one's prescribed duty, what happens? So Arjuna as a Kshatriya is performing his prescribed duty. So what is the benefit of performing such duty? What will happen to you? What is the benefit you get by performing your prescribed duty? Somebody is a housewife. So what is the benefit a housewife gets by serving the family? So what is the benefit a husband gets by serving the family members? One is happiness. So which is arising out of dharma. So what happens when the soldier on the forefront of on the borders, he fights for the country? That's a duty, right? Responsibility. What happens by performing such duties? What will happen? By performing one's duty, we are not performing this duty just like a material duty. So this duty is, when the duty is performed as an obligation to God, so in connection with God, so then it gives you purification. Then it gives you purification. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna, you are not going to lose anything by fighting. So if you win, you will get an unrivaled kingdom on earth, and if you lose, you are going to the heavenly planets. So there is no loss. So losses by avoiding. What if one does not perform this duty? Suppose somebody is not responsible towards his family. Suppose a man is irresponsible towards his family. What happens to him? Suppose a soldier is irresponsible in performing his duty, Kshatriya. What will happen? Huh? By not performing one's duty, one will incur sin. So that's what Krishna is saying. Arjuna, you are saying that you will not fight, but instead you will take the profession of begging. So that is not recommended, because even on the constitutional, even if you have a material duty to perform as a Kshatriya, instead of taking up that duty, if you want to take up the duty of a Brahmana, so by taking the profession of begging, your nature will not allow you to do that, because you have attained a particular nature. What have you done? You have attained a particular nature by your swabhava. This is called as swabhava, because by your previous samskaras. So there is some particular nature in everybody. So somebody is inclined to take up certain professions, certain jobs. So it's all because somebody has develops an inclinations, not only in this lifetime. Even performing duty on the bodily platform. So we also have certain inclinations. So a Brahmana has a particular set of inclinations. These are all material duties. We are not talking about spiritual duties. But everybody has got a spiritual duty towards God. So that is your constitutional duty on the platform of a spirit soul. So that is one's own personal constitutional duty. So conditional duties are all described in the Varnashrama Dharma. So therefore Krishna is saying, suppose if you run away from the battlefield, so suppose if you don't want to perform your duty, you are saying that you cannot fight with your own kinsmen. So because they are all your brothers, So because they are all related to you on the bodily platform, they are your gurus, they are your well-wishers, and you don't want to perform the duty. So in such a case, so don't think that the people will honor you for not performing your duty. They will not think that Arjuna did not fight with us because out of compassion for us. So not out of, because he's thinking that we are all his relatives. So that's the reason he did not fight with us and he went away. They'll think that you are a coward. So because of the fear of the battlefield, you have run away. Then what about the credits you have got? You were accredited as the best student of Dronacharya. So you fought with Lord Shiva and obtained Pashupatastra. So people will start ridiculing you. So and all the honor, whatever you have gained, so it is all lost in just by not performing this duty, even performing duty on the material platform. So, and for a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. So, what is death for a Kshatriya? Dishonor is worse than death. Actually, a Kshatriya doesn't fear to fight on the battlefield, but if he does not perform his duty and people dishonor him, so you are a coward, you are a eunuch. So that's what Krishna is saying this. People will call you eunuch. You are not even a man. So that is a great dishonor, right? For somebody like Arjuna, who had so many laurels. Like he went to the heavenly planets, he got various different kinds of weapons from Indra, Chandra, Varuna. So what will happen to his honor? So that's what Krishna is saying. It's better for a Kshatriya to die on the battlefield. So even if you die, you're not going to lose. So by performing one's prescribed duties, one will not incur sin. But if Arjuna does not perform his prescribed duty, he will surely incur sin. So because he is duty bound as a Kshatriya to protect Dharma. So only because he has some bodily obligations towards Bhishma and Drona, he cannot drive away Dharma. It is not a fratricidal war. So it is not two warring factions between Duryodhana and on the other side we have Pandavas. So it is not family dispute. So it is the question of protecting one's Dharma. So therefore, for the sake of Dharma. So and this is the cause of the Lord. So that's the reason Krishna is saying, you are not understanding why I have come to this world. So why Krishna comes to this world? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushyatam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. So time and again he comes to this material world to establish what? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuktanam adharmasya tadatmanam shujamya. To establish dharma. So you have to fight for my cause. So even performing one's duty, it is not just like performing an obligatory material duty towards office or towards the company, something like that. Duty means duty towards God. So that is what the duty what we are speaking of. So this will give way to progressive life. That's the reason prescribed duties are so important. Okay. So this will protect dharma, and by performing dharma, as we all know that by performing dharma we will become happy. That's also that. Swadharmamapi cha veksha na vikampitum arhasi dharma yadi yuddha shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Destination Swadharma apavratam. So infamy akirtim chapi bhutani. So criticism. So this all we discussed in the previous slide only. Just a moment. So in the second chapter, we see in the first chapter, Arjuna gives reasons why not to fight. Okay. So first reason is that compassion for friends and relatives. So, and Arjuna and Krishna is answering all this in the second chapter. In the second chapter, verses 11 to 30, because he's showing compassion towards friends and relatives, and Krishna is addressing that by saying that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. So no enjoyment even after victory. So why there is no enjoyment? If you win, you will rule over an unrivaled kingdom on the earth. And if you die on the battlefield, you will go to heaven. So where is the question of no enjoyment? By performing dharma, one will become happy. That's what Krishna is saying. Fear of sinful reactions. So by perform sinful reactions, there are certain kind of aggressors which are mentioned in the scriptures. The six kind of aggressors are one who sets fire to one's house, so one who attacks with deadly weapons, so one who administers poison to somebody, and one who kidnaps one's wife, and one who tries to take away one's land, and one who tries to take away one's possessions. These six kinds of aggressors are mentioned in the Dharma Shastras. So by killing such aggressors, nobody will incur sin. Okay, here we see that Kauravas did all these different kinds of aggression against the Pandavas. They tried to disrobe Draupadi, they tried to take away their land, they tried to attack them with deadly weapons, they set fire to the house in the Lakshagriha, Vanavrata. So everything, they have done everything for the Pandavas. So such aggressors, if you allow them to continue, so they will create havoc on earth. Okay, so fear of sinful reactions. So he did not fear sinful reactions, but by failing in performing his Kshatriya duty, Arjuna will incur sin. Yeah, that's what Krishna is saying here. Discussion of family traditions. So Krishna is telling that don't be attached to rituals. So get attached to Krishna. So Krishna is saying this in the second chapter, verses 45 to 46. He's saying that Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna, Nirbandva Nitya Sattvastvo, Niryogo Kshema Atmavan. He is saying that don't get attached to Vedic rituals. Vedas, 90% of the Vedas, they talk about Karma Kanda. They don't talk about the higher destination of life. So, destruction of family traditions. So, don't worry too much about all this. Because if Arjuna, if Yudhishthira Maharaj becomes the king, he knows how to protect Dharma because he is Dharma personified. So, you need not worry too much about that. But if you are attached, don't get attached to the Vedic rituals, but get attached to Krishna. Because by performing Vedic rituals, one may be promoted to heavenly planets. But your life in heavenly planets is not permanent. So again, once your punya is over, you have to again come back to this material world. And if you perform sinful activities, you'll go back to hell. And again, you have to come back to this material world. You have to perform those duties by which you will not come back to this world. So that is intelligence, right? So then in 2.6, Arjuna is saying that I'm indecisive. I don't know what to do. Krishna is saying that surrender to a guru and follow. So that we discussed the importance of guru in the last section, right? Okay, Hare Krishna. So we can go ahead. So performing prescribed duty gives enjoyment. Hatopi va praptasya swargam chitva bhokta se mahim tasmed uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayah. Hare Krishna. So by performing one's duty, one is always beneficial because by winning over the war, he will rule over an unrivaled kingdom, or if he dies on the battlefield, he is assured of entering the heavenly planets. Hare Krishna. 38. So fight as a duty, equanimity, duality. Sukha dukkha same kritva labha labha jayo jayo tato yudhyaiva yudhyasya naivim papamavapsasi. So when you perform your prescribed duties, you are not going to incur sin. See, like somebody is fighting on the battlefield So suppose if he is fighting for India and he is killing the enemy soldiers, he is killing the enemy soldiers. He is not going to. The government is not going to arrest him for killing people. So, but instead, he will be awarded. He will be given a Paramvir Chakra. The gallantry awards will be given to him. But if he does not perform, so by performing his duty, he will not incur sin. So similarly, Arjuna is not killing on his own account, so because he has some personal vengeance against her. So he is doing his duty on behalf of the Lord. Therefore, by performing such a duty on behalf of the Lord, he will not incur sin. That's what Krishna is saying here. So therefore, work in such detached spirit. If somebody works in such detached spirit, he will not incur sin. So he has to see things with equanimity. Equanimity in duality. Labha, labha, jayo, jayo. So in all circumstances, whether it is, don't worry about the result. Krishna is saying, whether you are going to, going to lose the battle, or you are going to win the battle, or whether you are going to gain profit, or whether you are going to gain losses. Don't worry about all this outcome of the war, but do your duty. So we should all be attached to performing our own duty. That is more important. By performing duty, what will happen? As we discussed. So this is a very important point you should all note. Why one should perform his prescribed duty? One is to please Krishna. Second one, to purify one's existence. What is purifying one's existence? That's one aspect of looking at it. So there's also another aspect of looking at it. I discussed this in the last class also. So we have this. Why we are in this material world? Because of the bodily conception of life. So we are thinking we are thinking everything in terms of me and mine, and also our own conceptions about this material world. We all have developed our own conceptions about this material world. We have developed desires and attachments towards this material world. So we are not aware of the reality of life. So we think this material body is all in all. So we are not aware of the higher aspects of life. So these are all different kinds of contaminations. So what we have developed in this conditional state of life. So actually, when we perform our prescribed duties as desired by the Lord, as designed by the Lord for all of us to do, so we will eventually be purified in due course of time by performing such duty. Getting the point? Any doubts here? It's a little philosophical subject matter, little critical, but so if you pay careful attention, you can get. So and also we should depend on the knowledge given by Krishna. Can take the mic. Mic even. There's no volume. ఆ మైక్ ఇంకోటి వర్క్ అయితే ఉంది which constitution doing the prescribed duties, two aspects. So one we are pleasing Krishna by doing our prescribed duty. Second one is that we get purified. We get purified. So this purification will gradually happen because we have accumulated this millions of lifetimes. So eventually, gradually, we can see the purification. So we will see. The next sections will give you a much better picture about it. एसा ते बिभति संख्ये बुद्धिर्योगोत्व इमं शृणु बुद्धया युक्त यया पात कर्मबन्धं प्रहस्यसि. So far, I have given you an analytical description of the body and the soul, Sankhya Yoga or Karma Yoga. O son of Pritha, now hear about Buddhi Yoga. When you engage Yukta, your intelligence in this yoga, you will become free from the bondage of work, Karma Bandhana. Okay. So now Krishna is describing all through. He has given the difference between the body and the soul. Okay, an analytical description of the body and the soul, and what kind of a duty one should perform. So to come out of this karma bandhana. So now Krishna is getting into a much deeper detail of Buddhi Yoga. So what is this Buddhi Yoga? Buddhi Yoga is the knowledge of the soul and the super soul. Okay, and the different activities of the super soul and our relationship with the super soul. This is Buddhi Yoga. So you can make points. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here Krishna is talking about the knowledge of the soul. He gives the knowledge of the soul. He gives the knowledge of the super soul. Knowledge of the soul, knowledge of the super soul, different activities of the super soul, and our relationship with the super soul. So what is super soul? Paramatma in the heart. See, in the body of the living entity, there are two aspects. One is the soul, one is the super soul. Okay. So here Krishna, by giving this Buddhi Yoga, he is giving him the knowledge of the soul and the super soul, and the relationship between the soul and the super soul. So by activating this is by activating this relationship. So the activating this relationship is called as Sanatana Dharma, or the knowledge of the soul. Okay. Getting the point? అర్థమవుతుందా? స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్ అర్థమవుతుంది మీకు. Hare Krishna. So can somebody tell me what are the different aspects we are discussing? Chararaj Prabhu. So now Krishna has given us the knowledge about Karma Yoga. Now Karma Yoga is over. Now so what is the relationship? And when we perform activities with this consciousness, so with the knowledge of the relationship between the soul and the super soul, then Sanatana Dharma is activated. Our eternal constitutional relationship with Krishna is activated. And whatever activities we do in this consciousness gives us permanent benefit. Permanent benefit. So that I will explain to you in the next shloka. Before that, we can understand a little bit about Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? So I will give you the example of Hanumanji, how Hanumanji performs this activity. So just like Hanuman, so if you ask Hanuman, what will he say? I am servant of Lord Ram. So what are you doing? I am doing Lord Rama's work. And how am I doing it? With dedication, commitment, and concentration. And what will you get by doing this activity? So I will please Lord Ram, and also there will be purification of the heart. This is Karma Yoga. Getting the point now? So Karma Yoga is not doing any duty. So many people have this wrong conception of karma yoga. In the material world, many people feel that my going to office is karma yoga. Yoga means your connection with the supreme. What is the meaning of yoga? Connection with it. So therefore, when you perform your duty, that should be in connection with the Supreme Lord. Then it becomes Karma Yoga. అర్థమవుతుందా? So getting the point, what is Karma Yoga? Just going to office, taking up any profession, any job, but at the same time taking care of family. That doesn't amount to Karma Yoga. How it amounts to Karma Yoga, that I will explain it to you later. So you do Karma Yoga, and if you offer the fruits, see how you perform karma. How we perform karma in this world? How did you get this body? Who gave the body? Parents. So, parents, how did they get their body? Ultimately, how we all came here? Ultimately, Krishna. Ultimately, we came from Krishna, no? How did we get this body? We got this body from Krishna only. So, the eyes, nose, tongue, the hands, and the legs. So, how are they all functioning? By Krishna's grace, by Krishna's mercy. Okay. So, ultimately, the intelligence to work, the knowledge to work, so, and our different working senses, the knowledge acquiring senses. So this body, so everything is ultimately given by Krishna. Right? There's no doubt about that. So therefore, whom should we offer the results to? So how are we going to do that? So whatever, see, suppose somebody is going to work. So how is he going to offer the results to Krishna? Everything we have got from Krishna. So how are we going to offer the results to Krishna? So by giving a portion of whatever we earn to Krishna, we are giving that results to Krishna, and finally the rest is taken as prasada. Similarly, you plant a mango tree. So if you plant a mango tree, what happens? Eventually, it will bear fruits. It is not that Krishna is not saying that you don't eat the fruit, but it should be first offered to Krishna. That is an expression of gratitude and also an expression of love. What is given by Krishna is given to Krishna back. Just like you are taking care of your son, you are giving all the necessities to your son. So if you offer a 5-star chocolate to your son, and if he gives it back to you, so will the father not be happy? What is that is making him happy? Gratitude and expression of love, right? An expression of love. So then, when you offer the fruits to Krishna, it becomes karma yoga. You understood how it becomes karma yoga? Or else it becomes only karma. Karma will give you reactions only. So just by performing karma, because for every activity in this world, you'll get a reaction. Every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So for every activity, you'll get karma. So we are bound by karma bandhana. So by doing this activity, what will happen? We are doing in connection with Krishna, it becomes karma yoga. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So in Buddhi Yoga, Krishna is giving him the knowledge of the soul, the super soul, the activities of the super soul, the relationship between the soul and the super soul. And when the Sanatana Dharma is invoked by the process, so then it is called as Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So by performing Buddhi Yoga, one gets permanent credit. So here we see Neha, it's a very important shloka. So you can all repeat after me. Neha Vikramana Sosti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpamapi asya dharmasya Trayate mahator vayat. So Neha Vikramana Sosti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpamapi asya dharmasya Trayate mahator. So there is no loss or diminution in this process. So even a small amount of a little advancement on this path can save one from the most dangerous type of fear. That is the translation. If you can read, somebody can read the translation. Pratap Prabhu, can read. Change it.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or depression. A little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Vachinda. Say little advancement on this path, but if you take to the path of Bhakti Yoga, there is no loss. Suppose in this lifetime we are not able to complete our prescribed duties, we are not able to completely perform Bhakti Yoga. So even we have done a small amount of Bhakti Yoga in this lifetime. So say 20%, 10%, there's no loss. You will be continuing from wherever you stopped. So that's what Krishna is promising here in this Gajendra Moksha pastimes. We can see that. So because Gajendra performed his prescribed duty, he performed his duty towards God. So what happens if you perform duty towards God? So that credit always remains. So the Lord remembers whatever he has done in his previous life as a bhakta. So by performing that duty, what has happened to him? So the Lord is remembering him. So when he was in trouble, the Lord came to him. So he came on his Garuda Vahana and saved him. So there's no loss. There is no loss in this Bhakti Yoga. So whatever Bhakti you perform, so even suppose it's a big, very big pastime. So I have to take it as a separate class to this whole Gajendra Moksha. We'll do it some other time. So here somehow by the will of the providence, by the will of the Lord, he became an elephant. So and in due course of time he was protected by the Lord and he was taken back home, back to Godhead. So by performing all other activities in the material world, even if you perform your prescribed duty, so what will happen? So you'll get purified eventually. So and by attaching to the rituals mentioned in the Vedas, one may be promoted to heavenly planets, but again you have to come back. But by performing Bhakti Yoga, one need not come back to this material world again. So he can go beyond the material universe to the eternal world. So where he has an eternal relationship with God. Okay. So this is the benefit. व्यवसायात्मिक बुद्धि एके हि कुरु नंदन बहुशाखा हि अनंतस्य बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम. So what is this vyavasayatmika buddhi? So single minded. So where the mind is not many branched. So here that's what in shloka number 42 and 43 Krishna is talking about various results. So which are offered in the Vedas. So yamimam pushpitam vacham pravashantya vipashitaha vedavada ratapata naneshkashitavadina veda tamatpanam swargapuro janma karma palapradam kriya vishesha bhulam bhogaishwaryam gatim prati. So Krishna is saying that the people who are attracted by the flowery language of the Vedas, which discuss about promotion to heavenly planets, life in heavenly planets, so they get attracted by such things. So and they perform such activities so that they can be promoted to heavenly planets. So this is done by people who are unsteady in their intelligence. So people who are all attracted. So in shloka we can see. So people who are all attracted by different aspects of the world. So they cannot have steady intelligence for performing bhakti yoga. So one needs to have a single pointed focus, just like Arjuna had that single pointed focus. So that I am not going to be allured by the things of this material world, because he knows that even if we go to heavenly planets by performing pious activities, I have to come back again after exhausting those pious activities. Pious activities are like the currency. So it gives you promotion to heavenly planets. Just like if you have money, you can go for a Europe tour. So once your money is exhausted, you have to again come back and work here. Come back to your workplace, right? So karma bhumi. So suppose one performs sinful activities, he has to go to hell. After suffering punishment, he has to again come back here. So what is the point in performing such activities? Getting the point? So there's no point. So you have to perform those activities by which you will go beyond this world. So therefore, there's no point in performing this pious and impious activities. Here you can see that person is so determined, right? So that determination is important in spiritual. Bodhaishwarya prasaktanam taya apaharata chetasam vyavasayatmikaha buddhir samodavana videyate. So for a person whose mind, whose intelligence is multi-branched, so for him, the single mind pointed focus to perform devotional service will not arise. So with this, Vyavasayatmaka buddhi will not happen for a person who has so many attractions for many things in this world. Like Duryodhana, so Duryodhana had attraction so for gratifying this world, so for enjoying this material world. So he was attached to women, wealth, wine. So he was attached to all these things and he wanted to possess by hook or crook. He wanted to possess things of this world. So despite being surrounded by devotees, despite being surrounded by Bhishmadev, Vyasadev, Vidura, so who were all giving him very good advice, so he could not develop that steady intelligence. Okay. So finally, as a result of that, he was ruined, the entire dynasty got ruined. So we can see that happen. People who run behind things of this world, who run behind the senses and sense gratification in this world, they destroy not only themselves, their families also. That we have seen. We have many practical examples. So in our own relative circles, friend circles, we find such people. So who are attached to all such things. So they ruin themselves and also their families. Duryodhana ruined himself and ruined the entire dynasty. Right? So that's the reason it is very, very important to develop this steady intelligence. Here, Krishna in the shlokas further, he will describe about different aspects of how to develop steady intelligence. Hare Krishna. Karmanevadikarasya mahapaleshu kadachana makarma palaheturbur mate sangosvakarmani. So it's a very famous shloka. Many times we would have heard this. Karmanevadikaraste mahapaleshu kadachana ma karma palaheturbur mato sangasva karmani. So we are entitled only to do our duty. So without expecting anything in return. Okay. So that's what Krishna is saying. Don't worry about the result. You perform your duty, whether loss or gain, victory or defeat. You don't be too attached to the result, because by performing your duty, you will get the necessary purification. So karma is not should not be done with an intention of obtaining the fruit. Okay. So it should be done with the detached spirit and only for the purpose of purification. Getting the point? By performing your duties in connection with Krishna, you will obtain the necessary purification. The best example for that is Hanumanji. We'll see how Hanumanji becomes the best example for this. So how Hanumanji performed his duties, you can see. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Karmanevadikaraste. We have the right to do work. What is it referred to? Work is performed in this world not for material results, but for spiritual results. Spiritual results means purification of heart. Okay. Why we practice spiritual knowledge? To purify oneself and to rise to the level of soul. It gives you Atma Jnana. By performing prescribed duties, one will get the purification of heart and also the knowledge of the self. Okay. This is what happens. So that's the reason we should not be attached too much to the fruit, but we should be attached to the duty. Duty with a spirit of detachment. Ma paleshu kadachana. We don't have the right for the fruits of our karma. Doesn't mean that one should not care for the result. So just like a housewife at home. So ma paleshu kadachana. Anyway, the result is not in my hands. So I will prepare the dish as I like. I will put as much salt as I want. I'll throw sabji here and there. Will she be able to cook? So duties have to be performed diligently. So, but not with an expectation of. We do our duty not just for the result, but we do our duty. We know that through that we will get purification and illumination. Okay. You will get the mercy of the Lord. Without the mercy of the Lord, we cannot understand this now. Okay. So one is knowledge and one is the mercy. Therefore, how we invoke this Sanatana Dharma, how we invoke this Sanatana Dharma in the heart. What is Bhakti Yoga for the age of Kali Yuga? Chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. By chanting Hare Krishna, we invoke. This propensity is always there. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. There's no doubt about that. But this propensity is being covered over by various different consumptions. So different contaminations. So that requires purification. So that's the reason when we chant Hare Krishna, the process of purification automatically happens. Yogasya kura karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhi asiddhayo samabhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So as per translation, to perform duty equipoised without attachment to success or failure. To concentrate mind on the Supreme by controlling the ever disturbed senses. So how one should be perform his duty in this world? How one can perform duty? In the spirit of detachment and with the focused mind. So how are we going to achieve this? That we'll see in the next slide. Hare Krishna. Here we can see Hanumanji and Arjuna are the best examples of performing this work without attachment. Okay. So he was inspired by Jambavan. So because he had this boon in his childhood, he was cursed by the by the sages, so not to remember his potency. Because as a child he was creating havoc. So all the sages they had cursed him not to remember his potency unless somebody reminded him of his potency. So Jambavan was a very old general in that. Hare Krishna. So Jambavan, so he knew the secret. So at the appropriate time he inspired him. So and by revealing the secret to him, so he was inspired to do his duty. So on how he did his duty and what are the qualities. So Hanuman had all these wonderful qualities. So you see how he is dealing with Lord Ram. So dealing with Lord Ram, the Lord of his life. So there are three ways the services are performed. One is called as Britya. Britya means one performs very intimate services to the Lord, just like Lakshmana did. He was cooking for the Lord, he was massaging his feet, so he was doing all his personal needs were attended by Lakshmana. So that is called as Britya. So the second one is called as Dasya, Kinkara. Britya, Kinkara, and Preshta. Kinkara means, so just like Hanuman is doing. So Hanuman is willing to carry out all the orders of Lord Ram. So after carrying out the orders, after performing one duty, he will again come and offer obeisances to Lord Ram, and he will say, what duty I can do for you? So that is called as Kinkara. Kinkara means what I can do for you. Kimkara. That is a Sanskrit word. Kimkara. Kimkara means what I can do for you. So this is the service which was rendered by Hanuman. Preshta means they don't very intimately approach the Lord, but they will associate with devotees of the Lord more intimately. So just like Guha and Sugriva. Sugriva would not very intimately associate with Lord Ram, but he would carry out. He had great respect for Lord Ram and carry out the duties, knowing his intention from his people who are very close to the Lord. So they are called as Preshta. So these three kinds of services are performed. So we can see how Hanuman had so many wonderful qualities. So how he is approaching Lord Ram. So and how he is dealing with Mother Sita. So the abode of love and divine mother. So before he flew to Lanka, so he offered respectful obeisances to the superiors like Jambavan, Surya, Indra, Vayu. So and he also offered prayers to them, got their blessings. So and then he is flying to Lanka. He is not very proud. See, in the previous slide, we see that how huge Hanuman is here. He is not proud of his potency. So, but he knew this is all. At the same time, he has great respect for his superiors. So you see the dealings with the elders. So dealing with team leaders like Angada. Angada would perform many mistakes in the course of performing his duty. But still, he would tolerate him, he would correct him. So and he would take him as a team spirit, he would take him in the right direction to perform the duty. So dealing with friendly new people and comfort providers as Swayam Prabha and Mainaka. So when he was flying towards Lanka, so he had to approach many difficulties. So few people offered him rest. So few people rose from the ocean and so they requested him to take some rest. But he was not willing to take any rest till he completed his duty. So one should unflinchingly perform one's duty for the pleasure of Lord Ram. So this is how the duty is performed. So he was a perfect example of prowess without pride. He had lot of prowess, but he was also prideless. So he also performed devotional service. See, when Ravana approached him, so Hanuman had reduced himself into a small size, so that is not visible to anybody. Right? He is performed his duty with devotion and dexterity. So and he had respect for all his fellow men. Okay. So this is how dealing with anarthas of mind like depression and anger, etc. Dealing with dangerous, unexpected situations. dealing with any enemies to Lord Krishna. Okay. So Krishna is telling him. So here Hanumanji and Arjuna, they stand as the best examples of performing Buddhi Yoga. So how Buddhi Yoga should be performed? Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So rejecting all abominable actions, Dure nahi avrata avaram karma, Buddhi Yoga. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna, you give up all your misconceptions about performing karma. So, and you perform your karma as per my direction. So that's what Krishna is telling. So by doing that, you'll be equipoised and you'll perform and you'll achieve your desired result. So by performing one's prescribed duties, buddhi yukto jati jahatiha ube sukrata dushkrute tasmat yogaya yujasva yoga karmasu kaushanam. So by performing one's prescribed duties, so one will not incur sin. So he is saying that, so don't worry about Bhishma Dev, Dronacharya. So they are all your superiors, but they have taken the wrong side. Your duty as a Kshatriya is to protect Dharma. Therefore, by performing your Dharma, so you will not incur sin. So Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam, he is saying that. This is the art of all work. This is the translation. What is the art of all work? You should know how to perform karma in this world without incurring sin, which means you should know how to fish in the water without getting wet. That is the meaning. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. So by performing duties in this world, you are not going to incur sin. You should know the art of not to incur sin by performing duties in this world. This is what Krishna is talking about. Buddhi yukto jahatita ube sukrita dushrate. Tasmat yogasya yujasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. You should know the art of all work. This is the art of performing work. So by performing our duties in this material world in relation to Krishna, we should all perform our prescribed duties, but at the same time offer the results to Krishna. By performing such work, you will do karma yoga, which will gradually lead you to bhakti yoga. So janma bandha vinirmukta padam gachanti anamayam. Somebody can read the rest of the shloka. So by doing your prescribed duties, by working in this way, so one will get liberated from this material world. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. So one will be liberated from this material world. So therefore one should know how to perform duty in this world by which one is not bound by the reactions of this material world, but at the same time they get liberated from this world. So fixed it. So somebody can read shloka number 51, rest of the shloka. So you can read. Padam gachanti anamayam. So 52, somebody can read the translation. 52 translation alone. So Kannada.
ಇನ್ನ ಬುದ್ಧಿಯು ಗಾಂಧಿಯ ತತ್ವಗಳ ಆಡಳಿತ ಹೊರಕ್ಕೆ ನಿರ್ಲಕ್ಷ್ಯವನ್ನು
Hare Krishna. So English ade topic Telugu. So fixed intelligence and trance. Okay. So now we are coming to the stage 2.51. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. Hare Krishna, getting the point? By performing the duties towards God, so all the great sages, devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world, which means they completely free themselves from sinful reaction, and they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond the miseries of life. Okay, Hare Krishna. So now we are coming to the lesson 4, the last lesson of the second chapter, Atma Ramam, Sthita Prajna, self-realized person. So we have just 5 minutes left. So hearing about intelligence fixed, Achalam Buddhi, Samadhi, Arjuna now asks Krishna about the characteristics of such a yogi, who is also called as Sthita Prajna, one with fixed intelligence. So Krishna is saying that, so in the previous sloka, Krishna, you told me that, so by fixing one intelligence, so in such a consciousness, one is free from the reaction of all sinful activities. स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्य केशव स्थितति किं प्रभासेत किम् आसीत व्रजेत किम्. So here Arjuna is asking Krishna, so what are the symptoms of such a person whose intelligence is steady and is fixed? So what are his general symptoms? How does he speak? So how does he sit? How does he walk? So what are his symptoms? How does he speak means on receiving praise. So on receiving praise or blame, affection or hate, how does he say externally or internally? So to the affection and anger of this world, if somebody is shown affection or anger in this world, how does he behave? That's what Arjuna is asking Krishna here. How does he speak? So how does he sit means, so he is also one of the persons like us. He is also affected by the so many objects of senses around him. So how does he respond or react in this material world? That's another question. And how does he walk? Means how does he respond to sense objects? So he is also one of the persons of this material world. So for the temptations of this world, how is he going to respond to the temptations of this world? So what are his symptoms? Okay, so this is the topic of discussion which we will be discussing tomorrow. Okay. So and what Krishna is answering, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanaiva atmani tushta sthita prajnastadochyate. So Krishna is answering him by saying, so he gives up all material desires of sense gratification born of mental concoction. So Arjuna has his own conceptions about life. So how am I going to kill my relatives? So how am I going to enjoy this world without them? Suppose somebody goes to Dubai and he earns around 10 crores, comes back to back to his hometown, but nobody is there. All his relatives are gone. Will he be able to enjoy? So, so similarly, Krishna, he has all these misconceptions, all on the bodily platform of life. How am I going to enjoy? What is the outcome of the war? So whether I should fight or I should not fight. So all this. So a person, Krishna is telling him, you have to give up all this mental desires arising out of mental concoction. These are all desires arising out of mental concoction in the sense. So mentally we have different conceptions about this world. So about happiness and distress of this world. So different kinds of pleasures and pains of this world. So all these different conceptions are all arising out of the mind. So therefore you give up those desires which arise out of your mental concoction and you have to fight for my sake. So you have to perform your duty for my pleasure. So such a person is said to be fixed in his intelligence. Rajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani tushta sthita prajnastatochyate. So he is not driven by the different pleasures and pains of this world, but he is fixed in his intelligence. So for attaining purification and his intelligence is fixed on attaining the Supreme Lord. So such a person is said to be a person of steady intelligence. So all these symptoms we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Any doubts? Anybody has any doubts? You can ask. A person with steady intelligence. A person of steady intelligence is called as Sthita. Because unless one has steady intelligence, I think there is a picture. Unless somebody has steady intelligence, you have the famous picture of the chariot, where a chariot with the horses, and a person is driving the chariot with holding the reins of the horses. If the charioteer is not sufficiently strong enough to hold on to the reins of the horses are all compared to the different senses. So his intelligence is not strong enough to hold on to the senses. So then he cannot drive the chariot to the desired destination, which means he cannot have steady intelligence. So therefore, how to attain that steady intelligence is the topic which will be discussed from the second chapter 54th verse to the remaining verses. That we will see tomorrow. How one should develop steady intelligence and how can one become steady in his practices of devotional service. So these things we can discuss tomorrow. Pratap Prabhu.
Prabhuji, we have karma bandhan. So we have also discussed about attachment and distribution attachment. So how we will achieve that? Is there any some specific path? How we follow?
So we follow the process of Bhakti Yoga. That's the reason we discussed also that how are we going to invoke that Sanatana Dharma. So invoke that Sanatana Dharma by the practice of devotional service. So how are we going to practice devotional service? So step by step we will cover tomorrow. So how even to understand all these aspects, one has to become fixed in his intelligence. And how one can develop fixed intelligence, so to practice this and attain the purpose and goal of life. So it's given here. So actually second chapter is a summary version of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So that's the reason we are seeing so many different topics coming here. So which is all little critical also. So but systematically we will cover this. So we'll be starting from Karma Yoga in the next chapter, chapter 3. So chapter 4, so about the different aspects of knowledge. So we'll be covering one by one. But second chapter is actually a summary version of the entire Gita. So now we will be discussing about how one will develop steady intelligence. That we will discuss tomorrow. So those aspects will be covered tomorrow. But more than anything else, that's the reason in the age of Kali Yuga, why we are giving this different aspects of yoga is to make a comparative study. What will this comparative study do is a comparative study will give you a deeper understanding and highlight the nature and sublimity of Bhakti Yoga. So you'll understand the glory of Bhakti Yoga, how Bhakti Yoga is very, very simple process and how it can be very easily performed. All these things you'll learn. One is the knowledge aspect and one is the practical application. So now we are discussing only about the knowledge aspect. And the practical application for the age of Kali Yuga is very, very simple. Krishna has asked us just to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we will develop whatever Krishna is asking, is expecting from Arjuna, is all achieved just by performing Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga in the age of Kali Yuga, it's not like we have to go to the forest, sit and meditate. By remaining in our own fixed position. So if you are a Grihastha, you can remain in your fixed position as a Grihastha and still practice Bhakti Yoga. So along with your family members. So very simple process which is given by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So very easy and sublime process. Just chant Hare Krishna, do your prescribed duties, come to the association of devotees and learn the art of Bhakti Yoga. So which is a sublime process. So but these are all different aspects of knowledge one is supposed to know. So that you will all become steady and fixed in your practices. Hare Krishna. Any other doubts?
Chapter 2.2. Whatever the duties we have to the results we have to get the account. As you said, that we have to do first part for the, for example, selling fruits that we make, they have more time to come. We have to do the work. And as for the Lord, we should also so how coming here, we have a time, we make something. Not even they don't have it, they are not realizing, but still they reach to the technology, still they will go back to the material.
Hare Krishna. So one aspect is doing your work. So and doing your work with an intention to please Krishna. So see, Karma Yoga is like actually performing. Yoga means yoga is performed in connection with Krishna. So and we are doing our prescribed duties. So like a Kshatriya is supposed to fight, a Vaishya is supposed to do farming and crop protection. So agriculture and crop protection. So the prescribed duties are mentioned already in the Dharma Shastras. So Yajan, Yajan, Patan, Patan, Dana, Parinigraha. So these are the duties of a Brahmana. So then what are the duties of a Kshatriya is offering protection, giving protection. So that is mentioned in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So and Krishi, Goraksha, Vanijam, Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. So one has to perform agriculture, trade, cow protection. These are the duties of a Vaishya. And Paricharyayakam Karma, Shudra Karma Swabhavajam. Shudra is supposed to support all the other three Varnas. So now we don't have any Vedic system, Varnashrama Dharma existing in this material world. So, but still, one has to take out time. So, to understand, there are two duties as we discussed. One is a constitutional duty and one is a conditional duty. The conditional duty is to maintain the body, but at the same time, you also have the higher aspect of the soul. You have to protect the soul also. Not only performing duty for the sake of taking care of the body. Just like the old woman, she took care of the case but neglected the bird. So everybody has a duty, whether he's a fruit vendor or whether somebody is going to a software company. Everybody has to take out his time to attain the purpose and goal of life. He has to perform his constitutional duty also, not only conditional duty. Conditional duty is meant for taking care of the body, but the constitutional constitutional duty is meant for protecting the soul. So one is that we have the horizontal duty, that is the duties to maintain the body, and one we have the vertical duty. The vertical duty is towards God. So just like a swan, we have the difference, the horizontal duty and vertical duty. Horizontal duty is like the duck. So what will the duck do in a pond? It will go round and round within the pond. So just taking care of the family members, just taking of the social duty, so family duty. So he will not go up. But a swan, what does it do? It will go to Manasarovar lake. Not only it will come to the pond, it can also go to the Manasarovar lake. Horizontal duties are duties on the platform of the body. And our constitutional duty is the vertical axis. There should be horizontal axis and also the vertical axis. Both are required. If you want to plot a graph. So your horizontal duty, material duty, and your spiritual duties both are important. So we have a purpose when we have this human form of life. Not only we have horizontal duties, so we also have the vertical duties of going back to Godhead. So therefore, say this is a completely degraded age. We cannot expect too much in this world now, in terms of Varnashrama Dharma. But we should know that the duties and the prescribed duties are meant for what are they meant for? Not only deriving, not only for the heck of doing our duty, but it should be done for the sake of purification. So purification means we should do our activities to please God. A husband should take care of the family members for pleasing God. Wife should perform her duties for pleasing God. So that is the meaning of performing one's prescribed duty. So the God should be the center. So we should all perform our duties. So it is not like we have 25 duties to do and worshipping God is also the 26th duty. That is the nature of a karmi. That is how the karmis act in this world. So for a devotee, God is the center of activity. So even if we perform Griha Pravesham, so we perform Griha Pravesham, first the Lord goes into the house and we follow. We live along with the Lord. So the Lord is the owner of the house. We have to acknowledge this. The devotee acknowledges that everything belongs to God, everything is given by God, and we have a duty towards God. So my relationship with God is eternal. So people of this world, it's just like there is a saying. So a small child, when he comes to this world, he is put a napkin. A napkin has no pockets. And when a person leaves this world, he is also covered with a cloth which does not have pockets. Which means you have nothing to. You did not bring anything to this world, and you are not carrying anything in this world. Why we should struggle so much for not carrying anything from this world? Why should we focus so much on the conditional duties? So from where we are not going to take anything. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to take those things which will give us eternal. That is what we discussed. Neha Vikrama Nasosti Pratyavayam. So we are supposed to do those duties which will give us eternal credit. That is we showed the picture of Gajendra Moksha. Neha Vikrama Nasosti Pratyavayona Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahaturvaya. We are supposed to perform those duties which will give us permanent credit, eternal credit. So we should not be just bound by conditional duties. We have our constitutional duty, that is our spiritual swadharma. This is very, very important for us. We have to do our duties and we have to take credits from this world, because when we are given this opportunity of human form of life, we are supposed to take spiritual credits and go back. That is what we are going to carry. So all other things will be screened off along with the body. When the body is finished, everything is finished. You are not going to carry anything from here, except for whatever you have accredited in this material world, whatever spiritual credits is there, that will come with you. So therefore, we are all doing our prescribed duties, whether as grihasthas, especially majority of them of us are grihasthas. So we have to perform our duty for the pleasure of the Lord. So we have to take care of our family members. We have duty of taking care of them materially, and we have the duty for taking care of them spiritually also. So don't think that by performing material duties, anyway I'm working, I'm providing for the necessities of the family, my duty is over. See, anyway, Krishna is pleased with that also. That is called as performing your constitutional duty. So conditional duty. So no doubt, Krishna is pleased. So, but at the same time, you have a duty for taking them back to Godhead also. So you have your spiritual duty also. Understood? So, constitutional duty, conditional duty. So both are important. Horizontal axis, vertical axis. Hare Krishna. So getting the point? So what are we supposed to do? So you have to plot the graph of going back to Godhead by performing both constitutional duty and conditional duties. Okay. Hare Krishna. So that's the reason we need such a detailed discussion. So then tomorrow we'll be talking about how to develop steady intelligence. So we come perform duties for some time, then we don't care. So that should not be the so because of the various inabilities which the mind, the unsteady mind and the unsteady intelligence will give you. So that is all because of our conditioning in this material world, which means we are associated with this material world since a very, very long time, and all these inabilities are bound to happen to us. How to develop steadiness in devotional service, that is what we are going to discuss. Okay. So how that steadiness will come, will all be discussed in detail. Okay, Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much. Now we'll have Aarti and we can have Prashadam also. So we should all thank Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara for giving us this knowledge and an opportunity to discuss this most important knowledge. Hare Krishna. So tomorrow also we have program here in the center. So starting at 8:30 in the morning. So we'll have Guru Puja followed by Katha, Kirtan, Prasad. You can all join us tomorrow also. So for satsang, and tomorrow evening we will have this Bhagavad Gita service. And going forward, so we will have this Gita series on Sundays, 10:30. 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 to 11:15, 45 minutes. Okay. Hare Krishna. So only tomorrow we are having Hindi. Tomorrow, with that, we will conclude this 6 sessions course. Followed by that, we will be having it every Sunday morning. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita.